Hi, welcome to Inside the Moms Club, where being a mom is the coolest place to be. Here in the Moms Club, we believe that what embarrasses you now will make a great story later. And let's face it, you don't laugh sometimes, you're gonna cry. Join us in having a good laugh together. I'm Monica Samuels. You are now inside the Moms Club, your private destination for all things mom. Hi, moms. Welcome to Inside the Moms Club. I'm Monica Samuels, and I'm so happy that you can join us. I'm here with my co-host today, Julie Orchid.
Hello.
Hello, Julie. So Julie and I are having an amazing time. We come here sometimes to do our show from Los Angeles, and it's always fun. And that means that we're roommates sometimes. And that's so much fun. But last night it was a little challenging. So that's the thing. You learn something about your friends when you actually room with them. So last night, let's see, I had my CPAP mask on.
It's hot.
It's very hot. And my eye shades. And she took a picture of me, which I was really kind of mad about until I looked over at her. And she had on a blue mask. She looked like she was auditioning to the sequel to Avatar. So I was like, okay, I don't feel quite so bad. That we both kind of...
Yeah.
But that wasn't even the worst part of the evening. Because to go to sleep, I have my iPad. And I watch different sitcoms. And it just puts me to sleep. So last night, Seinfeld was on. And you can tell so then what happened? Because I wasn't really aware of what I was doing.
Well, let me tell you what happened, Monica.
Okay.
Monica thinks falling asleep to Kramer on Seinfeld yelling at Jerry is soothing. And I happen to find soothing a rainstorm on my phone. And she was sound asleep. So I was like, Monica, you need to turn that off. And so she doesn't answer. So I go and I kind of crawl over the top of her. And I think it's going to be safe. Ladies, it's not. I grabbed her iPad and she grabbed me and she goes, what? And I was like, just going to shut it. We got to turn it off. You got to let go. So I put the iPad away and then Monica can tell you the rest.
I was asleep, but I woke up a little later to the sound of rainfall, like a lot. I thought the song goes, it never rains in Southern California. It's pouring somewhere. Right. But no, I didn't know where it was coming from. Yeah. Evidently it's from her phone. So she's got this program. Now the rainfall I could have maybe gotten used to, but the rainfall was followed by a lot of music that I felt like I was in a spa, which is great when you're at a spa. But when you're trying to sleep in the middle of the night, that is not the greatest thing. And then it would go away. And then I thought, oh, good. Now I can go to sleep. But it's kind of like a jackhammer next door, at a building, and then they stop, and you're like, is it going to come back on? And then it goes. So that's what was happening.
It's supposed to be on a timer, Monica.
Well, it was on a timer. Julie, I can tell you it was on a timer because I was up all night. But we're still friends.
We're still friends.
We are still friends. And you know what? That's the beauty of it. You learn. And that's the great thing about friends.
Yes. And
we support each other and, and I didn't punch you or anything when you took my iPad away. So, maybe we wouldn't be still friends if something like that had happened. But
right.
Yes. So I'm a little sleep deprived, but
it's my fault.
Happy to be here with Julie. And otherwise we've had an amazing time, right?
It's been amazing.
Shopping, eating. I recently went to Italy, and so Julie feels like I need to still feel like I'm in Italy. So every meal's been Italian. So
I said, how about Italian or Italian? Yeah.
Yeah. That's all we've done. So we're going to write a little book about eating Italian in Italy.
That's our next venture, food
Los
blog.
Angeles, yeah. So anyway, it is great to be here with a friend. And, friends are always there for each other. You support me. We've been through some things. I've been through some things. You've been through some things. And it's just amazing to have that kind of support and people that love you and care about you. And it is great today. We have a guest, and we'll share why we're sharing our great friendship and our story together here with our guest, who we'll introduce now. She is a yoga instructor, a runner, a photographer, a philanthropist, a mom, and a warrior. In 2016, she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and that some of the top doctors in the country did not give her the most optimistic outlook to the future, but she's a fighter and a warrior, and she wasn't going to take what they were telling her lying down. So she's been a true warrior in this fight against multiple sclerosis. She has written a book, like The Wind, Not the Color, a memoir. I've read it. I can tell you it is amazing. I read it and I highly recommend it. This is a must read. So please welcome Julie Blue. Welcome, Julie, to the Moms Club.
Thank you.
So tell us, now just by way of background, and some of our listening moms out there in the audience know that Julie here for the Moms Club has multiple sclerosis. She was diagnosed in 2017. Tell us a little bit about your journey with MS. What were the initial symptoms, and when and how were you diagnosed?
Well, I had actually gone in for a routine procedure, a colonoscopy, and when I came out, they couldn't wake me. And shortly after that, the symptoms started. I had dizzy spells. My head started to feel weird. A week after the colonoscopy, I went running in the heat, and when I got back, my leg just stopped working, and my right leg just fell down. I kept going to the doctors, and they kept telling me I was okay. But as a yoga instructor, you're taught to, listen to your body, and my body was screaming, I'm not okay. So about a week after that, I went back to hot yoga, and then my left arm gave out. So I went back to the doctor, and he's like, your spine looks fine. I was like, well, my spine should look fine. I practice yoga every day, but what's wrong? And a few days after that, my whole left side went numb. So I took myself to the emergency room, and they CT scanned my brain and gave me Vicodin for the pain in my leg and told me to go get an MRI. So back to the doctor, long story, longer. They found some lesions in my MRI, and then I went to Mayo Clinic in Rochester to get the diagnosis. So that was September. It's actually 6 years next week that I was diagnosed.
Wow. Now, you had quite a journey with the doctors. Share a little bit about what that was like, because many of us I recently had a kind of a health scare and had so many MRIs and ultrasounds and everything else imaginable. And you just don't even know who to trust, even though they're professionals. Like, what I liked in your book is you said if all doctors knew what they were talking about, we would all be cured. That's supposed 100%. To be their thing. So what was that like?
Well, my internist, he just, he kept telling me I was fine, and I kept telling him I'm not fine. That, if you seen my pictures or know my story, I can balance and stand on my hands and do all these crazy things, but he was telling me I was okay. I'm like, well, I can't hold my right leg up. I'm not okay. And I've learned to advocate for myself. I mean, you have to, because the doctors are quick to throw pills at you. They're quick to, say we don't know what's wrong. But when something is very clearly wrong with you, when you have muscle loss in your body and your head is, somewhere else, and I teach people, that's the thing, as a yoga instructor, I teach people to listen to their bodies. So I was listening to mine, and mine was saying something is wrong. So I changed the doctors' names in my book because I didn't.
That's why I giggled, because I had to, I was like, oh gosh, her internist. So
doctor
anyway.
Doesn't read reports.
Yes,
and the other one I can't say, but it wasn't that they were doing anything wrong. They were
just not doing.
They were not doing. They were, here, take this pill, or here, go get this X-ray, or here, do this. I'm like, well, okay, but why can't I hold my right leg up? Why is my left arm weird? And now why did I thought I was having a stroke, actually, when that happened. I mean, and you had the same.
Exact same. I thought I was having a stroke, but go ahead.
And actually, a few weeks ago, same thing happened. But so over the years, well, actually, after Doctor Doesn't Read Reports gave me the initial diagnosis, I went to Mayo. When I came back, I found myself a new internist.
Yes.
And she's fantastic. And, I can be very loud. I can be very in your face. And I'm not going to let somebody tell me how I feel when they have no idea what it's like to be inside my body. So I started raising money, and Nancy Davis, who we all know, she gave me the name of an amazing neurologist. So it took a long time to get my medical team in place, but I feel I'm in a really good place with my doctors now.
Well, you really took charge, which is what you have to do, is to take charge and advocate for and study. I mean, you looked at all different alternatives that you could And from the book, I know you really took the time to think through what you were doing as opposed to just trying different things.
Well, right. And so that's how the book sort of came about. After my diagnosis, I bought a journal because my memory that was it. Like, memory was gone. So I started writing everything down. But I also have, I have to mention him, my miracle worker, my Chinese doctor that is here in California. He practices alternative medicine and acupuncture, and he was really the one that helped me the most, I believe. The neurologists can only do so much. They can prescribe the drugs, and, they can look at your head every year or however often you need to. But it was really, and I'll say his name because he deserves all the credit, Dr. Nee. He just came in, and I remember him sitting down next to me. He said, "We're going to cure you."
Nice.
And he's, I'm out here. Well, now I bought a place out here, but I've been coming out here once a month for the last 6 years to receive treatment from him. And he's really my guiding light, to be honest with you.
He's a real hero in this story. Also, you just mentioned her, Nancy Davis, who
Nancy
is
Davis.
amazing. We participated in the Race to Erase MS this year. And, I mean, what she's doing to help find a cure. She's not just talking about helping people get through the disease, but let's find a cure for this disease.
Right.
So she's been amazing. You've had an amazing team around you, which is terrific. Now, you were telling me earlier about your experience, because you all took two different paths with MS.
Okay.
Literally, I'm sitting here going, yes. I literally thought I had a stroke as well when I was diagnosed with MS. And I'm a nurse. And so as nurses, we often ignore our own issues and carry on and, kind of shovel it aside. And so it took me 3 weeks to get diagnosed, and then another 4 weeks to figure out how I was going to take my path, which leads to my question, because I've had a chance to glance through your book, which I will be reading detail page to page, because when you would say something, I would have to go back and read it and be like, I feel like you're pulling everything I'm saying in my head onto paper. And so there's many routes. 3 million people are diagnosed with MS. It's a huge disease. And it's possibly that we could be able to cure this or even reverse some things that have happened. Would you not agree?
I 100% agree.
So when we're talking about MS, there are specialists that only do this. So there's two paths you can take. And one, in your book, I noticed that you took the more natural approach to taking care of your MS. There's also a way that people go about taking medicine. And I do agree 100% that the side effects are awful. Okay, so that's something, and then you don't want that to slow your life down. So can you tell me, or all of us, a little bit about, you're a yoga teacher, so you're very in tune with your body.
Yes.
Okay. I do yoga a couple times a year, so I may not be as in tune to my body as you, but I do know when something's wrong, and I do know when to advocate for myself. So I chose a different route than you did. And I would love to hear how you ended up choosing that route and how you feel now. Because it's really, your diagnosis and my diagnosis is really not that far out. And so I love what you've done in the amount of time that you've been diagnosed. You're amazing.
Thank you. Well, so for me, when I got back from Mayo Clinic, I had to wait 6 weeks to see a neurologist in Phoenix.
Yes.
And the Mayo Clinic prescribed Plegridy, which is a interferon drug you have to stick yourself twice a month. But in order to get that drug, you have to go through the specialty pharmacy. You have to wait. You have to have a nurse or someone come and show you that. So while I was waiting for all that, I did some research. And I saw the doctor. I finally saw the doctor in Phoenix, and I wasn't crazy about him, and they didn't take my insurance. And, I didn't have a whole lot of support, to be honest with you. I kind of managed a lot of this alone. My kids were 17 and 20 at the time, and
and the kids don't get it.
No, and what, I didn't want them to have to, I mean, they're just going off and, figuring out who they are.
Exactly.
So I got on the webinar because I like to give everything, my all, and when I got on there, I asked a few questions. I said, will the medication make me feel sick? And they said, well, when you inject yourself, you're going to get the fake flu. I'm like, okay. And, and then I said, is it a cure? Is it going to keep things away? And they kept saying, well, it might, it may, it could, it should. There was no will. But you will have a whole lot of horrible side effects that are going to make you feel.
Yeah, and that makes you want to go sign me up.
Right. I'm like,
really?
okay, thank you. So when I told my family I was not interested in the drugs, I had like zero support.
Oh,
then there was the thing where it was a $25,000 copay, or the drugs were like $50,000, and my copay was going to be $2,000 a month.
Yay.
But the drug company was going to cover that for me. So I just, when I saw Dr. Nee, and it was just, I don't even know why, but I figured I was just going to fight it.
Yeah.
I was going to fight it with diet. I was going to fight it with sleep. I was going to fight it with losing stress, which means...
Well, that brings me to another question about that stress. And Monica, you have...
Well, yeah, I mean, you had some stressors certainly in your life, not only this diagnosis, but I mean, you had a friend who was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer.
Yeah.
You had a lot of things going on. Your kids, one of your daughters going off to college. And some of the characters in your life, like Useless, is I only know his name is Useless. I don't really know the person's name.
He is by far the most favorite character in my life.
It's a great character. When the movie is sold, that Useless is definitely going to be
right. Right.
So there's a lot of stress. So how did you deal with that? And do you believe that that stress in your life brought on or exacerbated, or what is your belief about that?
I believe my father passed about a year and a half before my diagnosis, and I was married to a very bad man who I left about 5 months after my father passed, and just stress from a lifetime of abuse and neglect, and all these things that I guess I'm sharing with the world now. That, I realized these are not making me feel better. So I remember sitting in my car in the parking lot and talking to Liz, who helps Nancy run the Race to Erase MS. And she just listened to me talk for 45 minutes, and she gave me a family, a whole complete family that I really had never had. And I just started, it sounds bad, but I started cutting people out of my life. People that maybe are great people to other people, but to me they weren't. And, I like to take onus of my actions and behaviors. And if something isn't working for me, I'm going to walk. I'm going to block you. I'm going to unfriend you. I'm going to never talk to you again. And it's not personal, but my health is way more important. And I know MS is one of those illnesses that is really exacerbated by stress.
It's 100%.
So,
when you look back at your life story, anybody's life story of any disease, but they really, really hone in that stress is a huge trigger for MS, which is, critical to everybody's story, right? And so you have to do what you just said.
And, it's hard, and I get some backlash, and it's not you, it's me. I'm sorry. I don't want to twitch or spasm or have another attack because you're stressing me out. So I accept the onus of that, and onus of leaving relationships. And I have cleaned house in the last 6 years. Cleaned house like nobody's business. Whether your family, whether you've been a friend for 30 years, it's such a hard illness to understand because I look great, right? I hang upside down.
Yeah,
you're all
standing on your head, and like.
Well, you can do some poses that I cannot possibly even imagine doing in my life. Yeah, I was talking to Julie about that.
Well, Monica, maybe I have a symptom of I trip a lot, and if I don't concentrate on what I'm doing, then I can do one thing. But Monica likes to walk really, really fast, and I'm like, she knows that I can't do my phone, talk to her. Like, if not, I'm going to be on the ground, and she's going to be like, where'd she go? What happened? Where are you? This isn't the first time that this has happened to me. So that's a symptom of my MS.
And thankfully, she hasn't cut me out of her friend group yet because of that. But maybe this might give her an idea.
I might have
because I'm not too good about that. My mother would do too, because she's 84, and I find her like
You're like,
I have to
"Where
go
are
look
you?"
for her because
Yeah.
I walk so fast. But that's so friends that you have, that you still have, that don't have MS. How did they support you, or how did they relate? Because like I asked Julie, you just said something that made me think about. Well, I asked Julie yesterday, what is it about MS that it comes and goes?
Yeah.
Or it's not really
flares.
coming and going, but the symptoms of it, the things that are most obvious. And she explained to me that what you were like, it's like a afraid. Well,
Yeah.
tell me share what you told me
I
yesterday.
don't know the exact. I was probably something I can't say here, but I can tell you that, I can say, I was just saying that basically, like, it's fraying off and it's not getting the message. Like, the cable is slightly broken. It's like when you plug in that cable on your car and you're like, sometimes it charges,
Sometimes it works. And
sometimes it doesn't charge. And that's
And
exactly
that's a
what's
good way to
happening.
explain it to somebody like me that doesn't have MS, but like wonders, that just it's an odd disease in that you could be in remission for 5 years and then all of a sudden
Yes.
you can't walk, you can't see or whatever. So that helped me understand. And so for someone like me who would be a friend but doesn't have it, how are those friends? How have they been in your life? Did they all get cut out, or do you have some that
I have
stayed?
some left.
And what kept them in your life? What was it about them that kept them
A
as part of your life?
willingness to try to understand, even though it's so hard to understand something you cannot see. You can't see the spasming, the twitching, the buzzing, the inability to focus on, like you said, I can't do more than one thing.
Right.
Like I'm multitasking is off the table. If I'm talking to you and like my phone went off, I'd be like,
Yeah.
what were we talking about? I don't remember.
Right.
So it's been a willingness of people to just try and understand or be there for me, or not say, oh, well, I have that too. And,
Right.
because I get a lot of that. Well, that happens to me too. Well, okay, so then either you have MS or I'm fine. So it's hard because it is so, and it's extremely invisible on me.
Exactly. You can't see it. And
No,
so
you
it's
can't
difficult for
see.
people to understand.
It really is. So, and when you tell them you have memory loss, well, I have memory loss too. Well, it's not the same. It's,
Right.
the twitching, waking up in the middle of the night and my legs locking up and trying to find my Theragun, that's a plug,
Yeah.
They are great, actually.
They are, right? But, it just, people that are willing.
Right.
And not ones, I have people attack me too.
That's a really good statement. People that are willing.
People that are
Love
willing.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Well, we have a group of moms who'd like to ask you some questions, and they are Zoomer moms. So let's bring in our Zoomer moms. Welcome, ladies. We'd like to introduce you to Julie, and we know you have some questions, so let's go around and introduce yourself. First, we have Judith Foster Thompson. Judith, could tell Julie a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Julie. It's really nice to meet you. I'm a mom. I have 3 adult children. I live in Los Angeles. I also am a caregiver to my 91-year-old mom. And I'm a filmmaker and a creator of a YouTube show based on caregiving for my mom called Alternate Reality. Yeah. And I have a question. You got divorced, right?
Twice.
And now you are single. Are you dating, or does having MS make you feel that you have to disclose everything right out the gate? And how have people been with the information that you share with them if you decide you want to have a relationship or date?
Such a great question.
great
That is a great question, actually. For me, I put it out there right away because it's a lifelong illness. It's not going anywhere yet. I have a feeling Nancy and team are going to find a cure soon, but so that's something that you have to know right away because I need someone that is willing to be there, because it's I might not always, even though I think I will always be this healthy, but it is something that someone has to be willing to be a part of. So it's, it hasn't been a problem. I mean, I've not found, well, actually that's not true. There was one man that I dated at the beginning of my diagnosis, and I remember I waited 3 weeks to tell him, and I told him, and he never touched me again. So it was really interesting. And I said to him, I go, it's not contagious, but he clearly wasn't the one, just like useless wasn't the one. So,
Sorry.
no, it's
But
okay.
That's a great name.
There's a funny story there, but, so, I'm single now because I choose to be single. I spent a lot of years bringing men into my life that were not worthy or deserving or good for me. And now I'm at a point, I've done a lot of hard work in the last year and a half. I know what I'm worth. I know what I deserve, MS or not. So it's going to take a really special man to let me allow you into my life. But as far as, read my book, stalk my Instagram, get on my Facebook, because I want you to know who I am, because that's who I am.
Yeah.
I'm loud, I'm proud, and, I fight for everyone with MS. It's not just me, because I could walk away and be okay just by myself.
It's everyone
Among
around you, too.
among your friends that have MS, have you seen them find great relationships that are, that there are great people out there? It's not like, I think that there's a feeling, who am I going to meet who wants to take this on? But there are people like that, right? Have you seen that in your own life?
I have seen that, yes.
And that's
100%,
great.
yeah.
That is great. And Helen Savage is from Arlington, Virginia. And Helen, welcome to the Moms Club. Tell Julie a little bit about yourself and ask a question.
Thanks. Hi, Julie. So I am a mom of a newly turned 11-year-old sixth grader. And I live actually in the house I grew up in, believe it or not, in Arlington. So it's kind of fun to see how things have changed, and our daughter growing up in this environment. And I recently took on a contracting job since I lost my job during COVID. So I'm busy these days. And actually, that's part of my question. I have an 84-year-old mother as well who's had some health issues and continues to have some health issues. And I also have a very dear friend, long-term friend, who's had his second diagnosis of cancer. And so there's a small group of us who are helping to take care of him. He actually lived with us for 3 months at the beginning of COVID, when he first got out of the hospital prior to his cancer diagnosis. And sometimes I just have to say no when they need something, or I need to do something, and I feel very guilty. And so I want to do everything in my power to help him. I want to obviously do everything in my power to help my mother, which, we didn't see her for 18 months because of COVID. And so any advice for those of us who are, trying to be supportive and do as much as we can, but without, or is there anything we can do that we're not doing to help somebody who's got a long-term illness, or is, having mobility and, other types of issues?
That's amazing. You're amazing. I think we all need time for ourselves too, because you can't give and not fill yourself back up. And it's hard caring for somebody that's ill, 100%. And, you just have to find your peace somehow, some way, so you can be more effective in helping the people that you're caring for. I think that's, what I have found is I have honored myself more than I've ever honored myself in my entire life. So, and knock on wood, I don't have anyone that I have to take care of at this point other than myself. But if I did, that would be something I would, make sure is that I had some me time. And it's not selfish time, it's selfless time. Because if you're filled up, you're much more effective at helping others. 100%.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Great advice.
Jennifer Marsh is with us as well. Jennifer, tell a little bit about yourself and ask Julie a question.
Julie, hi, so nice to meet you. I live in Austin, Texas. I have a son who's in high school and a daughter who's in college. And actually, it's funny, I have a lot of friends who've had children who've had lifelong diagnoses of autism and other difficulties, and very difficult childhood cancer. And one of the things I think that you're doing that so many people who I know have had to do is advocate for different doctors, better treatments, different treatments than the first doctor recommended, a third and a fourth diagnoses. And they're having to make these things on tricky timelines. And then there's, of course, the insurance that you're fighting for. And, the best case scenario is you have, resources so you can choose what you want to do. And you can get, your children where they need to be diagnosed and properly. And, you can get the right team of people in place. But, then I also know that there's so many people who, so much of what can be solved for these people is kids with sensory issues or, even adults who are struggling with stress in their lives is just managing sleep, managing diet, managing exercise, and making it a priority. I'm so curious how you do that. I loved something you said before we were on air, and you were saying, I hate running too, but I do it. And, I feel like there's tons of stuff like that, but I was like, oh, I hate it, but I do it because it's worth it because it's medicine. So I'd love to hear you talk about that.
Well, we're machines. Our bodies are machines.
Yeah.
And the first thing I did was diet. That made the most sense to me, was to change my diet. Not that it was ever bad, but I have an inflammatory condition. Well, I should eat anti-inflammatory foods. I mean, you don't put oil in your windshield wiper fluids, and you won't feed your animals horrible food, right, if they're sick. So I see so many people not taking care of themselves, and that means sleeping 8 hours a night. It means cutting the stress out. It means changing what you put inside your body. And I'm talking about, people as well. So I don't even know how I sort of know. I think my dad from behind pushed me along, but it just, something flipped in me. It was, okay, well, you can lay down and, succumb to this illness, or you can get up and fight. And I remember the day after I got home from the hospital, I put on my running shoes. And after 8 days of being, attacked and harassed at Mayo Clinic, I could barely walk down the stairs. Yeah. So it's just, I live kind of like a Groundhog Day existence. I make sure I get enough sleep. I make sure I eat the right foods. I make sure I surround myself with the people that fill me up and not drag me down. So it's just listening to your body and honoring, who you are and what you are. I mean, I don't want to say it makes me angry, but, I see people that really treat themselves poorly, and then they wonder why they're sick. And, when I fight so hard, or someone like Julie, we fight so hard to battle this bully that lives inside us. Mm-hmm. And, we do everything we can to stand upright and to not be taken down. So I really think you need to just look at what your body needs and honor yourself. And so many people don't honor themselves. And
I think that's a really hard thing to do. I don't think it's as easy. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people know how to say what you have said today. Like, I've really focused on myself. I've really cleaned house. I've done all of that. And when people talk about MS, when you say I left the Mayo Clinic, is that correct?
Yeah.
And you have been poked and prodded. When you are diagnosed with MS, you go through a series of MRIs. You go through a lumbar puncture. And if anyone's ever been through a lumbar puncture, it's so much fun. So what I'm saying, you have blood draws. If you're on medication like myself, you have to continue blood draws, and it has horrific side effects. So it's just like, it's a process of, it's hard not to give up when you, in the beginning, when you are just learning how to take care of yourself and honor yourself, learning how to eat the right foods, exercise. If it was easy, everybody would do it. I mean,
that's true. And I agree. That is true.
So that's, it's really hard work what you're doing. And what Jennifer is saying is that, I think that what she says, like, I don't like to do it, but I love the benefit of it and how it takes care of my body and, all the benefits of it. Mm-hmm. And my neurologist and I sometimes go at it a little bit. Mm-hmm. So, who is an amazing man out of Houston. So go ahead, Julie.
No.
Yeah, I'm done. No, I just wanted to say it's very difficult, like, to everything that I've read in your book and what you list are all amazing things, and I love them so much. But you really dedicate yourself to it, and
I do, because I remember, it took me about 17 months to actually feel like a normal person or whatever was my normal. And I don't ever want to feel like that again.
Right.
Why? I mean, ever. So I stay on this little path, this Groundhog Day world that I live in, and I'm okay with it. I really am.
I think you're a great example. And you just said something earlier about, if we would tell our kids, we can tell our kids all day long, if you would just eat foods that are good for you, we tell them that. But isn't it a shame? And I say this from personal experience. Last week, I got a little diagnosis. And now I'm like, okay, well, now I got to start eating a certain way because I have to.
Because you don't want to give up your candy
and it's
or
like,
your alcohol.
Why did I not do that before this? I got myself in this situation. I could have done it earlier.
Well, then I flew into town and took her to every Italian restaurant in LA.
Because
she's trying to kill me, I guess. I don't know what the story. Yeah,
I'm trying to end this relationship because I got it.
But you did something else too. You said you put on your running shoes. You don't love to run. You don't like running. I
hate running.
So read this book. For all of you like me that hate running, but know that it'd be good for you. Read this because So how did you do that? Because you ran races. I mean, you didn't just run down the street.
No, I was running. I was running before, but I was running a few times a week, and I actually met a woman, Shannon, who is an ultra. I can't say it, but she's an ultra amazing human being runner with MS. And it's funny driving into Burbank, actually, because if you read the end of my book, you'll understand why I haven't been here since then. So, she inspired me. She's another one I dedicated the book to. So here's this woman with MS. She's running these crazy races, and I wanted to be like her. I wanted to actually follow her through Death Valley in the middle of the summer, 135. Oh. Yeah, that's the end of the book. So I can't give it away. But I would lay in bed every morning, stay in bed. Nope, get up and run. Nope, stay in bed, get up and run. And running one, yoga one, it all one.
Well, this is a really go ahead. Monica.
Well, no, the great thing too is that in support of MS, there's some great events. Like, as Julie told me, there's what's it called? The bike race?
It's the MS 150.
The MS 150.
A ton of money.
For Julie, it was evidently the MS 128. She got that far. But that's the great thing, too.
It's the MS 128.
You can go as far as you can go, but you're doing something great for the cause of finding a cure for MS. You, and reading throughout the book from the beginning, you started raising money to support that effort. It was all the things you did for yourself and for your own health, but you started raising money, and it explains some of that, because it wasn't like you raised $100,000 in a month and look at you. Yeah. Tell us how you did that.
Well, I wanted to do something, and that was the only thing that I could do was help find a cure. So when I talked to Liz and they handed me the Race to Race MS, I started fundraising. So I came out, so to speak, because I was teaching yoga, and I needed people to understand what I was now going through. I don't know why I became so public with it. I just did. And I, took some pictures, and I put up the little virtual race from the Race to Race MS, and thousands of dollars came in immediately from my yoga community. So it was like after all these years of giving to them,
super touched.
They gave back more than anyone else. I mean, literally, they just surrounded me with love. I'd never felt such love in my life. So I did that first year. I'm starting my 7th year now of raising. So I've raised $70,000 for the Race to Race MS. Just by taking pictures and putting them on the internet. And as my daughter, she hates my spoken word poetry, but people don't want to read long paragraphs they just blow right past it. So I put up a picture that makes them stop and look, and then they read, and then they click, and then they donate. And because everyone knows someone that has MS. I was astounded by how many people reached out to me. Well, my cousin has it, my brother has it, my uncle has it, my nephew has it. And I was like, okay, I just need to figure out what it means for me. But I want to help cure these 3 million people. And now, every time someone that I know that finds someone that has MS, I talk to them on the phone. So
Yes.
we speak on the phone and I share what I'm doing. I mean, it's not medical advice because I'm not a doctor, but everything I'm doing is natural. So I share my story, they share their story, and they feel uplifted and inspired because here's someone with the same exact illness they have, and I'm thriving. So they want to thrive too. And Nancy Davis gave me this incredible opportunity to help hopefully cure 3 million people, and I guarantee you there's a lot more than 3 million people because most
a lot of people are undiagnosed.
Yeah, I could
But
see.
people want to support. I just want to say this because I think a lot of people are like, raising money is so critically important because we are,
So
I
hard.
truly believe we are close. Like for people like Nancy Davis who go all out, a lot of organizations around the United States for MS. But people want to support you because they love you. And then you're in turn turning around and affecting possibly 3 million people or more by doing that. And because this is such a silent disease and a lot of people don't know about it, what you're doing, it reaches a wider crowd than you'll ever know. So thank you for everything you've done to raise money.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I feel like, from what I understand, we're getting closer to a cure.
Oh,
I mean, the
absolutely.
fact that what Nancy's done and some of the things that are coming through the pipeline, some of the drugs, which I know you're not a big pharmaceutical fan, but looks like we're getting closer.
But everyone's situation is different.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I would never, tell someone they shouldn't be on medication because most people are on medication.
Right.
I chose a different path, and it fortunately has worked for me. But I 100% support all my friends. I built a deck during COVID in my backyard, and on it is a person in a reverse warrior pose.
Yes.
And it is all the names of all the warriors I know personally are painted on that deck in my backyard.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So
That's
it reminds me why, because sometimes you forget your why. And, so when I talk to someone new or I am invited to do something like this or, someone else just gets diagnosed and they're so, they just feel supported because it's like we said, it's an invisible illness that nobody can see and no one really understands unless you have it.
It is important. And you know what? Today there's going to be some moms out there that are going to get diagnosed with MS. And you
Probably.
are an inspiration to them. And both of you ladies, the two Julies.
Julie's.
Not everyone named Julie has MS. I just
No.
Yeah. If your name's Julie, don't think that. But yeah, you are an inspiration, and that's what happens, and that's really why we're talking about this and doing this show today. You just never know. Your life is going along one day, and then one day something happens. You might have a disease that suddenly can affect the rest of your life in some way, or it could end your life, or someone that you're close to and you love, and so that changes exactly how you're dealing with everything, going forward. So we really appreciate you
definitely.
telling your story again. Read this book; you will love it. You will love it. I mean, actually,
we all wish that we could have a book with that cover. Let's just see that one more time. That's amazing.
Well, the cover and
I was actually shocked they let me use
What
that picture.
prompted you to? Now,
What pose is that?
I have two sons, and I'm not sure I could have done this picture.
Well, it's funny because I gave my son a hardcover and took the thing off. He was the only one I did not want looking at that book. I'm actually not completely naked. I have my Uggs on.
Yeah.
I was actually doing a boudoir shoot for someone I was dating at the time. And I was like, paint me, So it was coming up on my next campaign. I always start campaigning in September because that's the anniversary of my diagnosis. And so she painted me, April Bennett, Soul's Image. She painted down my body, and that picture was just, it says it all. It really says it all. And I had just come off a training, so I looked pretty good in that picture. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
No, you look great.
And you know what? In the bookstore, like, if you're walking by a bookstore and you see that cover, you're going to pick it up, right? Are you not going to pick it up? You're going to pick it up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
100%. I mean, yeah.
I can tell you if I write a book and I take a picture like this, it's not going to look anything like this.
People might still pick it up, though.
That's right. That's right,
People
Jennifer.
might pick it up, but they're not going to
see anything.
They'll be like, "What is this? Oh, that's a woman. Oh, sorry."
Right, you can't.
But this is great. Well, thank you so much again. And where can we find you on social media and donate to a great cause?
I'm actually just finished my fundraising page, which will be up next week. Julie Blue, like the wind, not the color. Om Shanti 3, FUMS Inc. on Instagram. I have 2 pages. And then Facebook, LinkedIn, anywhere. I'm not a big Twittery person, but I've managed to, raise all this money on Facebook and Instagram, really, to be honest with you. So
That's
Julie, send me a
amazing.
friend
Well,
request.
thank you so much.
You.
And thank you so much to our sponsor, Good Company. I'm going to put a big shout out to Good Company because Good Company, when Inside the Moms Club came to support in the Race to Race MS, they helped donate to the cause. They are amazing. They're a thoughtfully curated clothing and jewelry company, and they support established and emerging designers. They have 3 locations in Austin. And Julie and I love their clothes and love going there. And whenever you're in Austin, please go there. And if you can't go there, check them out at goodcompany.shop. And you can find us on Instagram at Inside the Moms Club. We're doing a lot of fun things on there, and we want fun moms to DM us, send us pictures, stories, fun things that you'd like to share, and we'll share them on our Instagram page. Well, as always, time has passed, and we're sorry that we have to go. But we'll be back next time with more celebrities and extraordinary moms just like you. We know your me time is precious and valuable. Thank you so much for spending it with us. We have an Inside the Moms Club motto. If you don't laugh sometimes, you're going to cry. So
That's
don't
right.
laugh, ladies. I mean, don't
That's
cry.
right.
Sorry, laugh. Definitely laugh.
I think both are great.
Exactly. We'll see you next time inside the Moms Club.